third round of the Tata Steel. White pieces, Vishy Anand, the former world champion, the Tiger of Madras. The black pieces, Fabiano Caruana, the current world number 2. So a big clash, as most games are in this super tournament. Anand opened with e4, and after some normal moves, we have knight f6 by black, the resurgent Petrov defense, which is making somewhat of a comeback at the highest level. Knight takes e5 by Anand and d6. Now, we haven't had anyone recently go for the Cochrane gambit, but Topalov had the balls to do that a while ago against Kramnik, but nobody has done that recently. And now knight takes e4. So everything is normal. We already saw Caruana play the Petrov against Carlsen in round 1. There Carlsen went with queen to e2. The most common continuation in recent years has been knight to c3, which we also saw in the game between Giri and Ho Yifan, which I analyzed on this channel. Usually white goes with a development with bishop e3 and queen d2, etc. However, in the current game, Vishy went with more mainline stuff. d4 used to be, of course, the mainline of the Petrov, and after d5, bishop d3, and bishop d6, which is what Caruana has been playing. I would also like to mention that a lot of the Chinese players have been playing the Petrov, so it's been recently quite popular at the highest level again. So castles by both sides, c4 challenging the pawn on d5, c6. Black has to hold on to this pawn to protect the knight. And now queen c2, which Anand thought was a slight surprise to Caruana, as they had played this before with a different line. But Caruana most likely had something in his back. He went knight a6 rather quickly, a3, bishop d4, and knight e5. We're still following theory, and Vishy mentioned that he was a bit worried that, okay, he knew the lines, but he thought he might be walking into some preparation, but he was kind of determined to just go for it, to make Caruana show him what he had in mind. Bishop f5 was played, and now b4. So still we have a number of games in this line by very strong players. Now knight c7 turns out to be probably a new idea, and Anand went for the principled move here. He played f3. So seemingly black has a problem, because, well, where do we move this knight? You're gonna lose the bishop on f5. But of course Caruana had everything under control. Still playing rather fast. He played bishop g6. So now Anand had to spend some time, and, well, the obvious question is, what happens if we take the piece? F takes e4. This did not happen in the game, and the reason is that bishop takes e5 is very good for black. Once you take back, we take on e4, and this queen check landing on d4 is going to be devastating because of the hanging rook on a1, which is key here in many tactics. Another option is to take on g6 and then take the piece, but then black probably gets good play with d takes e4, and white has to be careful. Bishop takes e4 is actually losing, because bishop takes h2, and you lose control over this. Black is winning, and if you interpose a rook check here, rook takes f8, bishop takes, and now again we introduce a threat on d4. So white has nothing better than to defend d4, and play should actually be around equal here. One more option is to play, after taking on g6, not to take on e4, but to play c5. But that's also very good for black, and Anand pointed that out in the postmortem with Van Kampen. Queen h4 and then knight g3. And this is very strong for black. The white king is not feeling safe here. But going back, Vishy avoided the complications and went with a solid choice here. He played c5. And now black kind of has to take on e5, which he did. And now we must do something about this knight. So the knight moved to g5. And here Vishy played the quiet move, bishop to b2, developing his bishop. And the idea of playing f4 to f5 is always looming, so black must do something about it. Here, most likely Caruana didn't find the best move. The computers are suggesting a move such as a5, and after f4 you can perhaps take on d3 and play knight e4, and black should have his fair share of the game, but I think most people would prefer white. However, Caruana played d4, and this allows f4, but knight d5 was Caruana's idea, coming into e3. But this gives white 2 pieces for the rook, and Anand accepted, took on g5, played queen d2, and after the capture on d3, he took with the king on f1. Now Caruana gets the pawn on g5, but Anand calmly gives up the pawn on e5 and brings his knight out. This knight will come to a nice square on f3, protecting h2, and in time white will take the pawn on d4. So material will be equal, but white will have very good coordination, and usually when you can coordinate the two light pieces against the rook, you will have a better position. And Anand managed to do that. Queen h5, he took on d4. The mate threat was avoided with f6, and a typical way of blunting a bishop here with these pawns here. And this is an important closing of the diagonal, and we'll see later why it's important. Queen c4 by Anand, and king h8. Anand was hoping for queen f7 when he would take, and then he would reroute his knight to d2, c4, and the juicy d6 square. Caruana avoided that with king h8, bishop c1, a nice reroute of the bishop to f4. Like we mentioned, the pawns here were doing a good job of blunting the bishop. So Anand finds a new diagonal for the bishop. a5, excuse me, bishop to d6, and after takes, queen takes. Here the computer wants to play queen f7, protecting the pawn naturally, but then white sort of gets a free hand. He can improve his king, put it on g1, play h3, play perhaps rook a2 to cover the second rank first, and from there improve the position, and the white pieces will work well together, and black doesn't have a lot of play. Of course, he won't play rook a2 with the queen on f7, but we will cover the second rank somehow. Instead, Caruana went queen d5, and this gives up the pawn on b7, but he was hoping to get some counterplay for the pawn. Note now that white is essentially a 1 unit of material ahead. He has 3 pawns and 3 pawns against 5, so 6 is more than 5. King g1, rook a4. So Anand is taking care of his king, h3, rook to c4, and here Anand finds a nice plan. He covers the second rank. Perhaps the white position was most vulnerable to black, perhaps doubling his pieces on the second rank, but Anand prevents that nicely, and now the king is very safe on h2. Rook c1. Okay, this threatens a check, but it doesn't really do anything. The king will be safe on g3. And once again, this pattern of a knight covering the king we talked about before in one of my pattern recognition videos. And now after a4, Caruana became a bit desperate. He wanted to try to box in the king and he played f5. But this releases the earlier barrier on this diagonal that we mentioned, and it's noteworthy how quickly this becomes important. Queen b7, f4, Anand simply takes it. After rook takes c5, he first attacks the queen, and then queen to f7. And now all the white pieces are coming in to attack the black king. Rook g8 and bishop to e5. Now it's getting really difficult to find a move here for black. And Caruana went with queen c4. But a very nice finish here by Anand. Pause the video and find it. What's the prettiest move here? Well, the prettiest move is to leave the queen. Rook d6. Very nice. Caruana resigned. If we accept the queen, it's made in one move. Very nice mate. And this threat is actually, well, there's nothing you can do about it. If you play king here, there's simply a queen check, and then the queen takes on h6. So the only other option is to queue up a queen, play rook takes e5, but that's too much material at any level, and Caruana didn't fancy that. So nice win by Anand, who seems to be in good form. I mean, he won the Rapid World Championship, he placed 3rd in the Blitz, and now he's off to a good start at Tata Steel. So people keep writing Anand off, but he keeps coming back. So let's keep an eye out for the Tiger from Madras. On a final note, I want to address the video I made the other day, where I talked about the video from this channel, from the Chess Puzzler. So maybe I wasn't overly enthusiastic about making a video, but decided to do it anyway. I mean this video today, because I've been feeling kind of down about this whole situation, and I think if given the choice, I would have handled it differently. I would have tried to contact him. I mean, we all make mistakes. He made a mistake. He took his video down. I have removed mine from my channel, and I think I hope you can just look past this. And I think the blame is partly with the community. Whenever there's a good chess channel, there's always some comments and people wanting to see games by the player himself or the presenter, but that's not really necessary. There are plenty of channels that put out good content, but you don't have to see the games of the presenter. And to tell you the truth, there are not many channels that put as much time into editing videos as this guy does. And I say, hit subscribe, check out some of his videos, and leave some nice comments and encourage him to come back stronger, look past this. We all make mistakes, and I think he is and can continue to be a valuable member of the online chess community on YouTube. I mean, he built up his channel the right way, and just keep doing that. And yeah, those are my words. Thank you.